That's what I'm fucking talking about. Rest day complete. All right. Yeah, so as I said a second ago, hitting that 60. Today's just a rest day. I can tell that after the last few, or at least after the last leg day, back day, not so much chest. And I mean, yesterday with arms was just arms, nothing that crazy. But I think I'm a little residually fatigued. So by taking today with no lift, just hitting cardio, getting a good amount of sleep, staying super hydrated, I'm thinking I should wake up feeling fresh as a fucking cucumber tomorrow for legs. So then I can go extra nuts. But no pump, just the residual, additional blood flow from hitting that cardio. I mean, yeah, I just feel like a nutcase. So let's pose down for a few. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. All right, give me a moment to catch my breath, and then let's have a little post-cardio recap. There we go. All right, we have got quite a few questions. So I don't know what I was planning on doing earlier, but as I've just been sitting here, I made a little YouTube Q&A post. So if you go on the YouTube channel every so often, or I guess if you have the notification on, you'd get a little notification Q&A questions here, and then I always sort from first to most recent, because if this guy comments first, well, I feel like he's got a little more right to get his question answered. Early lifter gets the worm. White noise looked pretty 55 minutes ago. This was the first one. How's your day? Question mark with a smile emoji. Very good. Cardio done. I was sweating. I brought the big ass speaker right behind me, and I had this thing just bumping for an hour. And what was probably my favorite part is I put a piece of foam. Yeah, you can actually see right here. I put this up here to block the screen so that I don't have a reminder of how long it's taking, because I did an hour today, partially because I wanted to get after it, but also I think I'm going to start upping my cardio a little more. I think 30 isn't going to cut it for me. I got to go a little bit more hefty with my cardio, because you're always balancing two things, right? Lack of food and increased activity levels. That's going to help you get leaner. So I think less food isn't a good step right now. I think more cardio would be a good step. But you can do too much of both. You can starve yourself without being active enough, and you can be too active and eat too much. But either way, it's starting off quite well indeed. Sel Monbai High Official, however, I hope I didn't mispronounce that too bad. Hey Sam, love your videos. Any tips for how to find maintenance calories in depth? In DEPT. I think he means in depth. So I assume that just means how can I find an accurate maintenance calories? So step one, right? This is some shit I'm saying all the time. Track your food. Take a day. You don't need a specific app or anything. You can just do it like in your notes. Every time you eat something, no matter what it is, just look up the macros. Now, if it's something like a protein bar, super simple. All you do is peel back that little layer, look at the nutrition facts. 8 grams of fat, 20 grams of carbs, 20 grams of protein. Boom. Plug that into your notes, add them all up, track it. Now you got to do it every day for about a week or so, and weigh yourself every morning after you go to the bathroom. No clothes, no nothing, because that'll give you a really accurate, repeatable measurement. So if you eat, let's say you actually tracked everything every day for about a week, you averaged out at about like maybe 3,000 calories, I don't know, 2,500 to whatever you're eating. And then you also tracked your weight every morning. Okay, 180, 181, 183, 180, 179, 181, 180. It's always going to fluctuate, but that looks pretty steady, right? So what that tells me is that 2,500 calories is just about your baseline. Now, you don't need to know it specifically to the singular calorie. Like, I never know my maintenance to a specific calorie number. Like, my maintenance is not 2,697 calories or whatever. Technically, that number exists, but I don't need to know it specifically, especially not right now. So for me, my whole goal of, okay, I want to get a little bit leaner is eat so much that I'm gradually losing weight. So you're eating however much you're eating, and then you're looking at your morning weight as a trend. So if you're trying to grow, but you weigh 180 every morning for 2 weeks straight, eat some more food. If you're trying to get leaner, and it's the same situation, you're just right at that 180, you got to eat less food. So it's, I think the most important part is the tracking of the amount of food that you're actually eating and looking at the scales measurements to validate, is what I'm doing working? And if it's not, well, then you should change something. So if you wanted to find your maintenance, track what you're eating, weigh yourself. If your weight doesn't change for a week, that's your maintenance. If you gain about, a pound-ish, like you can tell it's an upward trend, well, then you're probably eating a little above your maintenance. You can look up like an online maintenance calorie calculator. I don't think they're super accurate. It's a good like baseline to see what's going on, but it's much easier to get a real number if you actually practically do it. So I know it's going to seem like a chore and like you've got a freaking compulsive disorder to track every gram of everything. For me, I think it makes everything way easier to just, let's just say, keep in order. TJ Butter 91, what's the best chest exercise to target the inner chest and bring back the intro? The intro will come back. I wanna record a cool one, so it's that hasn't been like number one on my agenda, but I'll get something cool. I'll figure it out. But in terms of the inner chest, it's not like you can ever specifically target only these fibers and nothing else. But if I had to say one thing about that, I'd say try to implement some beyond center line presses. So with a regular machine press or bench press, even dumbbell, incline dumbbell is really solid. You're hitting everything, but you're only going to here, right? My hands aren't crossing, so I'm only getting my chest flexed to this position. Whereas if I'm doing maybe a hand over hand cable press, or I'm sitting on a chest press sideways, well, now instead of just pressing to here, where my arm is just like, perpendicular to my chest or whatever, well, now I'm going way over here. So it's just this extra kind of squeezing burn. Even just doing it, hardly flexing, everything in here is like rock solid. Whereas if I kind of flex here, it's tense, but maybe not so much. So I'd say throw in some hand over hand press. Try not to shrug your shoulders into it. You might get a little, but every time I do it, I'm trying to keep my chest up, my head up a little bit, looking at the mirror, and I'm trying to press like this, just here-ish. I'm almost trying to keep my hands upward like that, like they're trying to twist. And when I do it like that, everything in here, like this upper inner quadrant of chest where it gets over your collarbone, I end up feeling flexing like crazy. So I'd say some hand over hand stuff. That's probably a good recommendation. Soze V9. Do you notice anything different about the gym vibes in Italy and England when you went there versus the gyms in the US? Not exactly. I don't know. I mean, it depends on the gym. If you're talking about Dino's gym was bumping. Everybody in there was fucking serious, which is not, it's definitely not always like that in at least the more chill gyms in the States. It depends on where you're going. If you live in like Connecticut or New York or really anywhere coastal, gyms are just grungier. I think there's something about just more just beefy characters. They just love the coast. I guess Vegas too, Texas. But a regular like Anytime Fitness, it's not so comparable to. I mean, I went to that Gold's Gym in Italy. I think it's Gold's quote unquote. But yeah, everybody in there was just bringing it. But I think it's the gym's kind of beyond culture. It's always going to be that same kind of just brute headish, meat-headed kind of mindset, or I guess not mindset, but like vibe. And I don't think it probably changes, apart from maybe like level of intensity. But I think the basic gist is going to be the same, probably worldwide. I'm not worldly traveled yet, but I'm sure it's pretty comparable. Oscar Blishk 5183. What does your morning routine look like, and how do you stay motivated to keep pushing through the day? So the motivation's not really too much of an issue. I know the things that I want to do in the day, and not only that, but I also think about why they're important for later. So right now I'm dieting. I'm trying to get leaner. I want to be a 230-pound something or other, light on my feet, just lean looking. I mean, even how I looked in the mirror today was pretty freaky. But I want even more than that before I start easing calories back in and really putting some size on. So that's the motivation that lets me say, okay, I'm not going to eat a huge ass bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch when I get home. Now, if I'm bulking, if I'm trying to grow, different story. But right now, since the end goal is to get leaner, well, then that's a pretty easy motivation for me to only do things that correlate with that goal. But as a morning routine, it depends on the day. Today, since it was just cardio, I'm fasted, haven't eaten anything yet. So all I did was drink about probably 2 liters of water, just with like a sugar-free flavoring. No electrolytes, just, whatever. I don't think you need to always be drinking like an electrolyte pack with every drink you're drinking. Add them in, but just regular flavored water, like with a squirtable kind of thing, that's cool. But 2 liters of that, and then I had 2 3D energies. There was the raspberry sorbet. I flattened them in a gallon jug, so that was the pre-workout. So 400 milligrams of caffeine made it pretty easy to sit in the bike for an hour. But when it comes to just a real routine, it's essentially wake up, drink something. Like if you got that jug next to the bed, just instantly slam at least a liter of water. And then I've been on a morning shower kick. I used to just go straight to the gym or go straight to cardio or, whatever, like just put my clothes on. But I don't know. Ever since I started doing a morning shower, now it just kind of makes me feel fresh. So it's like morning shower, dressed, clothes, pre-workout, maybe a pre-workout meal if it's like a leg day or something. Or if I'm lifting a little bit later, just like a, moderately sized breakfast. And then just get after it, So nothing too specific. I'm not like, the morning routine guy with the ice bath and the running. I'm not trying to dog on the guy, but I do not remember. But you know who I'm talking about. It's not that crazy. Diesel 982, what is your gimbal setup? My wife's a camera nut and is looking for a good one for her FX30. Very good pick. So you got to look up, I'm sure there's a few, but it's one of the DJI Ronins. I think I got the RS5 Pro. So the fancy part is it keeps the camera stable. If you ever see a dude walking around like any sports events, usually they're holding this big ass thing that holds the camera and automatically moves it. But this one comes with a little camera attachment. So what you do is you're looking at the camera, and at least how I've been doing it, is you frame yourself how you like. You do this hand signal, which like indicates to the camera to start tracking, and then you do an OK symbol, and it'll start recording. So I think there's an RS5 Mini, which if you're only using an FX30, I don't know, maybe you got cinema glass or something. But I think that would probably work if you got like a G-Mastered lens setup or whatever. But yeah, the Ronins are pretty solid. Type Tier 7521. How do you deal with the protein farts? Don't get me wrong, I can appreciate a good expulsion of hot exuberation. Some would deem a sin to the nasal cavity, but I'm kind of tired of gassing myself out. Reasonable, very reasonable. I mean, if you're eating a bunch of bodybuilder-centric foods, sometimes it'll get you going. It depends on what you're eating, you know. If I'm eating if I'm on an egg white kick, and I'm eating upwards of maybe 30 egg whites a day, because 14 egg whites is 50 grams of protein. If I'm eating 250 for the day and I have like 3 egg white meals, that's 32 egg whites. It can definitely get you going. I'd say just change it up. Don't eat the same thing, and actually that's probably my only tip. Just don't eat the same thing. It's whenever I eat a bunch of the same meal that it might make my stomach a little gassier. So if I do like a ground beef meal, eggs, chicken, a steak, random tuna, whatever, as long as I change the protein and I get in at least like 3 types a day, honestly, I haven't really noticed anything. Even dieting, where I'm not eating like a ton of fiber, I've been feeling pretty good. I've definitely gone through phases where my stomach was like going pretty crazy, but right now I think my microbiome is solid, so it's not doing anything too wild. Joey Roberts 12, volume or intensity. So it's not a black and white question, or I guess it's not a black and white answer to say, okay, volume is objectively better or intensity is objectively better. I think you're better off if this is volume and this is intensity. I think the answer is probably over here a little more. Without intensity, volume, I would say, is kind of meaningless. If I came in and just did like 30-pound curls for sets of 8, I could probably do 50 of those sets. I don't think that would be a really solidly stimulating kind of curl. Now, that's not to say that it probably wouldn't work either. Imagine a guy who's obviously it's just kind of for fun now, but if somebody's a blacksmith and that's their whole thing, maybe they got a blacksmithing YouTube channel, or they're doing some custom commission-based work or whatever. These guys, all they do is swing around this big-ass fucking hammer every day, and then the left hand is like the skill hand, or maybe it's the other way around, whatever. But just from repetitive action, where one rep of a hammer swing is not tiring this guy out at all, well, then his whole dominant strong arm ends up getting huge. So it's not to say that volume doesn't accrue either. I think when I see questions like this, like, oh, it's better volume or intensity, or should I train every day, or is full body once a week even better? Sometimes the motivation of the question, I think, is, all right, is the hard way really necessary, or can I do the easy way? Do I really have to go intense, or can I back off and go really easy? Right? So if that's the motivation of the question, then I think you already know the answer, right? You're just looking for an excuse, because a lot of the times we know what we should do, right? You see the cardio bike every time you leave the gym, or every time you walk in. This is me as a guy who doesn't do cardio. Whatever, I shouldn't even do the cardio anyway. It's probably bad for me. It's going to kill my gains. I need to, I got to conserve energy. I'm bulking, like just stuff like that. So it's there's definitely there's no specific answer. Make sure the volume that you do is done intensely. So if that's a higher rep set, maybe you're only grabbing the 30s for a set of curls. Maybe it's a 20 rep set. Bring it. Make those last 5 crazy. Go to full failure, or at least close to it. Or if you're going to curl the 60s for 8, well, then do the same thing, I think the answer is really a mix of both. So if I do a high volume couple sets of like cable press or something, and that's, in tandem with maybe a few 10 rep sets of heavy pressing, then I think that's a good combo, right? And you're hitting it from both sides, kind of a yin and yang sort of deal. Eli Hartman 4423. How do you feel like the COVID era affected the fitness space? I feel like it became a lot more negative instead of the inclusive space it used to be. I'm happy to see you bringing the positive energy towards fitness in general. Thank you. I'm trying. And this is one thing I think about fitness in general, just on a very broad scale, is, if we're in this fitness niche and that's what we're talking about, then I think a lot of people try to change it and spice it up. I would say that a lot of quote unquote fitness influencers, they're fitness adjacent. They lift, but all they're posting about is like total nonsense that has nothing to do with the gym and like the base values and benefits that the gym gives you, right? Like I think it would be a little weird if I only started doing like full on just random like vlogs or like flavor challenges or anything. And then there's the whole other angle. Like imagine you opened up a Sam video. All right, guys, I'm going to break down the top 10 chest exercises to blow up your chest. Yeah, I guess whatever if that's your thing. I mean, sometimes those are kind of good. I've definitely watched stuff like that before. But it's like, we're always trying to compare each other. I mean, I guess not we, but just like people in general. And then right now, I think we are very, well, not we, but people who post themselves on social media are more prone than ever to accommodate trends. So you'd probably say 4 years ago, every kid in the world wanted to be a fitness influencer. Maybe, maybe not, whatever. And like 10 years ago, everybody just wanted to be a YouTuber, like back when Vine was a thing. And then now I want to be a streamer. I want to do this thing where you just get on, and it's like, dude, you used to post a bunch of workout videos, which were awesome, but then now you just, live streaming like 4 hours of Fortnite. You're losing me, right? So I'm trying to keep it at least a little bit gym centric. I might deviate a little, but I mean, the gym is still kind of my main thing. So post COVID, and I think COVID, here's what happened. This is the baseline bar of how locked in everybody is with the gym. It's always pretty stable. I think it's on a gradual upward trend, but it's always like just basic. COVID was a huge spike because you could no longer, or people in general, you can't post on Instagram that you went on a cool vacation or that you're doing something cool. Everybody's just chilling at home doing nothing, right? Everything's shut down. So how do you flex on anybody else? Which is a big motivation for a lot of people to just do anything. All right, well, I'm going to post a picture of my Strava. I'm working out now. I'm getting real. So there's like this artificial hype for the gym, which I think has now since crashed. And now we're back to that Ziz party era. Like, yeah, I work out, but I just work out so I can get fucked up and, still stay in shape. Like, that's the motivation for a lot of, like, kind of frat style dudes. And it's always a back and forth. It's like, it's almost like elections, right? We're in this phase for a while. All right, fed up with this. Let's do something totally different. All right, well, now I'm fed up with this. Let's go. It's always this huge back and forth, like 2016, 2012, something like that. That was before my time in the gym. I only started working out in 2018. But I think that was kind of that Ziz-ish. I mean, I wasn't there, so I don't know the specifics. And then COVID was a lock-in. Everybody was getting pretty serious. And now we're kind of out of it a little bit. But it always goes back and forth, Just make sure you're still locking in, regardless of whatever random circumstances going on outside of your deal. To kind of put a cap on that one. Adrenaline 1200, I do roughly the same amount of sets of tries and buys, all to failure, but my biceps are almost never as sore as my triceps. Any advice that helps you kill your buys, or is this nothing to write home about? I've got something for you. So I went through and I screenshotted, all these just so I could have them in like a camera feed, but I have a tip. So I might ask what you're doing, right? Like, are these sets really to failure, right? Because sometimes people will do a set of bicep curls and like, no, just perfectly still, perfectly just, okay. Okay. And then that's failure. Usually I don't do that. Normally I might get, let's say I'm doing a heavy curl. I get 6 full reps. Okay, that last one was hard. It was a grinder. Okay. Take a few breaths. Burn out like 5 more hammer curls. Kind of partials, kind of swinging a little, but just putting some more energy into it. That usually does the trick. That usually gets me going. But as one extra intensifier, if you're legit going to failure, the last time I did this, I only did 4 sets for biceps. Like, that was it. I don't know when it was, but it was, I mean, it was on camera, it was in some video. But you're sitting on a bench, right? Get your, just sit however, your legs are off, and you're grabbing, I don't know, whatever you can do for about 10 for a concentration curl. So you're sitting here, both legs are kind of spread a bit. You're doing one hand on your left knee, and then your other elbow on the inside of your right quad, right? So let's do right arm first. So you're bent over here, you're holding, I don't know, let's say a 40. Let's say you can do the 40 for about 10 good ones. So just use your arm or your leg as like a stabilizer. Don't swing too much. Just only do as many as you can really do. And then by the time you can only get to like, let's say my arm's totally straight, you can only get to here. Well, then that's when you're going to want to start doing self-assistance. So let me actually stand up a little bit for this one. So I'm sitting down, I'm bent over, I'm holding my 40. My elbow's up against my other leg. I can only get to here now. Ooh, I'm like close to failure. That's where I use your other hand. So I do 1, 2, 10. And at the top of all these, really get a good squeeze. Like once you're at the top of the range of motion, just give it one little moment of like oomph. And then you can only get to here. Use your other hand, sling it up. Like it doesn't have to be controlled. Like just get it moving, sling it up, and then ride the negative down. Do that for 5 more. On that last one, you'll probably feel like you can't even curl it at all. And then just, I can guarantee if you do a couple of those, your biceps will be destroyed. Assuming you really bring it. Dan733, is it better to do both dumbbell wrist curls and reverse grip curls? And which one gives the most benefits for forearms? So if you're only gonna do one, which you shouldn't, you should just do both, then I would say the most meaningful is gonna be this. So you're holding on to a D handle, the cable's up here. Sometimes I kind of hold on to my own wrist for stability. You can do whatever you want. But you're doing this sort of curling action. Really getting everything in this bottom side just as tight as possible. So either you're doing that with a cable or you're bent over on a bench doing it with a dumbbell. And your forearms are pretty strong. You can go pretty heavy on this. But that's building everything on this bottom side. But it's not doing anything for the back side, right? That's all these like fancy looking muscles that open your hand and open your fingers. So that's where, you do your heavy stuff here. I mean, shit, I'll just grab a 15 and just park my arm on top of my leg and just, do 20 sets of these or 20 reps of these for, 8 sets or something. But do both. If you're going to do one, do this one, but do both of them, right? Don't slack. JJ, Sam, what's the best type of cardio to do to maintain muscle and burn fat? So a little misconception here, because the cardio itself isn't burning fat, right? Like if I was eating a crap ton of food, I don't care how much cardio I did every day, I would still gain weight. And at this point, now with my appetite, like I can eat myself fat pretty quickly. I'm not saying like to 600 pounds, but I'm saying I can gain fat fast if I let myself eat in that way. But assuming you're actually in a legit deficit, low intensity, steady state, man, I get my heart rate up in the usually 135, 140-ish for like 30 minutes. Now I'm doing a little more cardio, so that's up to like 45, sometimes an hour. But even just a baseline 30, if you don't have a cardio routine, that will start to do the trick. So just park yourself on the bike, grab onto the pedals. Eventually you'll get to a point where you can feel what difficulty you should be doing. Like even if I had no screen to tell me my difficulty, I'll, increase it. Okay, level 8, level 9, level 10. I'll get to a point where I'm like, okay, I can feel this. My quads are being stimulated. I can feel they're doing something, but they're not being overworked. Like I'm not going to get burnt out in 5 minutes, because it's got to be at a difficulty that's hard enough that you're doing something, but is easy enough that you can do it for 30 minutes at the same pace. Like if I had it set to level 20 or whatever the max level was, I couldn't do that for more than 10 minutes, I bet. Certainly not at like 80 RPM. I'd probably freaking pass out or get my heart rate to like, 200 or something. But yeah, just low intensity, steady state. It doesn't have to be the bike. It could be the treadmill. It could be the Stairmaster. It could be whatever. You can just go on a walk. But you want to get your heart rate elevated for those 30. So if that comes from playing basketball or from just, jumping around shadow boxing or jumping a rope or something, whatever you want to do, as long as your heart's elevated or your heart rate is elevated for those 30 minutes, that's the important part. It's not necessarily the pedaling action, but it's the, cardiovascular stimulation. That's what's really doing it. Really, Lesity, how do I do it? How do I become consistent with the gym? I'm often distracted. It's been 2 months without the gym, and I want to go back and never leave. So I have a little bit of a thought just at looking at how this question is posed. And it seems as though you're giving yourself this bar of a goal that, okay, I need to be here. Perfect, consistent. I want to keep going back, right? You never leave. And you're not there right now, right? Whatever. So if that's your situation, then you're not really giving yourself any rewards before you get there. You're not rewarding yourself before you get to this fully locked in state. So, I guess there are David Goggins out there, assuming that none of that story was fabricated or whatever. I don't think so. I'm just saying. Where it's like, my understanding was exterminator, overweight, 280 pounds, woke up and said, man, fuck this shit. I'm getting real. And then, boom, instantly runs, worked his way up to the David Goggins we all know now. And all the crazy shit he's been able to do. But the way I'm looking at it is if you're here and you want to be here, well, yes, obviously this big overarching goal is going to be important to have, but it's not one step. It's not one big leap to go from 0 gym, or at least 0 consistency, to 100. There's like 30 steps in between there, man, So I would say boil that down to chunks, when I'm looking at it's been a while, but if I'm looking at like an essay or a project or something, I'm not looking at it in its entirety. Okay, let's break this thing down. Okay, what do I got to do first? Right? If it's day 1, you're saying, okay, I'm doing it. What would you do on day 1? Well, fuck, man, just show up. You do nothing else but show up. Get in there, grab a freaking, pre-workout, whatever, an energy drink, it doesn't matter. Maybe you're not a caffeine guy, so just get a freaking, some kind of, just drink something before so you're hydrated. And then say, all right, I'm going to break a sweat. I don't care what body parts you're hitting. I don't care if you're only doing cardio. Go to the gym, break a sweat, come home. That you just won. That was a W. Now all you got to do is day 2, right? What would you do if you just did day 1? Creep it a little further. Maybe go a little harder. Do a few more minutes on cardio. Maybe just go to the gym a little bit earlier. Or even just do the exact same thing that you just did the day prior. But you can't set yourself up for thinking, okay, God, I'm not saying you think this specifically, but this idea of like, dude, I'm like worthless if I can't be like 100% on it. Dude, nobody is 100% on it. Right? It's a singularity. It's this limitless function. You never actually get there. It's always this becoming. So I'm not so concerned about any end point. I don't care where I am specifically in 6 months or 8 months or a year or 10 years or whatever. I care that right now I'm on track to where I want to go. So if I am, hell yeah. So if you're on track to getting back to consistent and you just went to the gym 3 days in a row, that's huge. And that should be something you should internally kind of reward yourself with, like a good feeling of, yeah, hell yeah, we're getting back into it. But you've got to materialize that thought. I think there's a lot of, I couldn't even imagine. There's probably a ton of guys where they're in their house, they're sitting on their freaking computer desk, they're gaming or something, and it's, oh man, you know what? And you just watch a badass edit of like Rocky 4 or some Trend Twins, or maybe you watch a Sam edit and the guy who made it did it cool. Hell yeah. Dude, you know what? 2020, you got all this motivation bubbles up in their head, and then it fizzles out into nothing, right? Like imagine, my visualization for that is like, imagine way out outer space. There's just energy particles. They're all flown around. Okay, hype, 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 hype. Fizzle, right? So just don't let it fizzle. Tell yourself you're going to do it, and do it. And every time you do that, you're just proving to yourself that you will. So it no longer even becomes this like test of, am I really going to do it? It just becomes what you do, right? You're like, you're just going to live in your natural habitat once you get back to this baseline consistency. But start small, man. Just show up. Show up, break a sweat. That is huge. That is so much more than so many other people, which is crazy because it's not even that hard. Anybody could just come in and do it. But the proof's in the pudding of how many people don't. So if you can separate yourself from a big-ass chunk of the herd just by getting after it, man. So take with that what you will. PJFLEE. No offense, Sam, but why have you barely progressed on your lifts? You were benching 405 and squatting 5 plates a couple years ago, but don't do much more now. Well, my strength goes up and down. I'm dieting right now, so I'm not going to be squatting like totally crazy. So come back to me in probably 4 months. So that would be like 2 months into eating more food, and we'll be back up there. But there also is just kind of, at least for me, I'm not trying to limit anybody else, but there's almost just a limit on the amount of weight that can be moved. I'm never going to bench 5 plates. I'm never going to squat 7 plates. I'm never going to curl. I don't know. I can curl pretty heavy, but there's kind of a functional limit, And if my goal is just maintaining and gradually building my bodybuilder style build, well, then I don't really need to get insane numbers. I still go pretty heavy when I'm, lifting strong, but yeah, it's, there's kind of just a point of diminishing returns, so we can put it like that. But no, it'll come back for sure, but certainly not right now. Now is a little bit more of a lighter squeezing-ish period. And I'm not saying super light, but just not like insanely crazy heavy either. But just wait for it, so give me some time there. Casper Spitz, do you have any tips for someone who doesn't eat a lot and wants to bulk? I'm almost never hungry. So to that, I would say, are you tracking your calories at all? If not, start, because you've got to make sure you do 2 things. And I think this is a pretty decent approximation for most people. You tell me what you think. But when I'm looking at my macros, like, what do I even mean? I'm always saying what are those? That could be 1,000,000. 4,000 calories could be 1,000 grams of carbs and nothing else. That's not what I mean when I say eat 4,000 calories, but here's my kind of rule of thumb-ish. So you're not super hungry. I assume maybe you only weigh 170. That's my guess, whatever. But let's say you're 170 pounds. A gram of protein per pound should be what your protein's at. So I'd say eat about 170 grams of protein, evenly split between 4 meals is pretty doable. 5 is a little more of a chore because now you have to make a 5th meal, but they'll be easier to eat because they'll be smaller and it's easier to spread them out throughout the day. But 170 total. Fats, I don't think you need more than 1/3 of that. So if you're at 170, then your fats, I'd say around like 55-ish. You're not going to get much more out of more than that. I think keeping your fats around 1/3 of your protein is just about right. You're getting enough that you've got enough lipids to, use to, I guess would the word be synthesize all your internal hormonals. Like you need fats, but you don't need that many. You don't need a fucking 200 grams of fats. And then the rest, just get it from carbs. So if you do that, you're eating your 170, you're getting around 60 grams of fats-ish or so. You're training hard like a freak. The rest, you got to up your carb game. So if you really are having issue putting weight on the scale, you're actually in a good position because that means you get to eat some shit in a good way. I'm not saying just only eat like tubs of Ben and Jerry's or like fast food or whatever. Like I'm not saying go for a ton of fried stuff. Like when it comes to bulking, I think fried, greasy, faster food, not as ideal. Like it's definitely calorie dense, but I'd say just leverage carbs. So eat some more sweets, eat some sorbet. Have a big ass bowl of white rice with some kind of barbecue sauce or And I'm talking like full sugar, like things like that. And then just really leverage your carbs upward. But if the weight on the scale still doesn't change, well, yeah, man, start grubbing. Throw some protein shakes in there. If the eating the protein is an issue, well, then get a tub of the raw, I think it's the s'mores protein powder. It's got like little tiny like dried marshmallows. So when you mix it up, it's actually like a hot chocolate kind of. It's pretty good, and it's way easier to drink 50 grams of that than it is to eat 50 grams worth of protein. So I think you'd probably better off mostly eating the protein. But if you get to drink it, then do what you got to do. So if it's really not changing, have some treats, man. Start eating, eat a couple of freaking Skittles post-workout. If you're really not gaining any weight. Cowardly Dog, any words for today's fitness industry? I don't know. Not specifically. Just keep getting after it, really. Like, there's no, I don't have like one specific gripe or anything. Just make sure you keep going hard. B. Floyd, how much of your mass do you estimate is true contractile muscle tissue versus temporary fluid and glycogen swelling? And how much dense tissue would you actually keep if you dropped your carbs to 0? So I know the answer to that. Right now, I'm about 236. I'm in the 230s-ish. I'm like right floating around in the middle of there. So if I did a full carb fast for today, like let's say I had no carbs whatsoever and I only had protein, so 250 grams of protein or whatever, I'd probably wake up tomorrow super flat empty stomach and pretty much fully depleted, maybe like a 232 or something. And if I ate like 8,000 calories worth of carbs the next day and drank a ton of water and filled back up, I'd probably weigh like 245 or maybe not 245, but upwards of like 240. So there's like a 10-pound disparity. So when you're full, you could be 10 pounds heavier full without having gained any additional weight. So if you see somebody say, dude, I just started bulking, I'm already up 10 pounds, it's only been 7 days. Well, he hasn't really gained 10 pounds. All he's done is, replenished his glycogen and filled up. So that's not real weight, but it is within the amount that your weight will fluctuate dependent on full of carbs and glycogen versus flat. So yeah, for me, it's probably about 10 pounds, 10, 12-ish, something like that. Hans Flaschentrager, 4206. Do you have a dream car? Not specifically. I don't know. When I see a cool car drive past me, I look. That's for sure. But I'm not like a total car nut. And this is something I think about a lot, especially now that things are getting so crazy for me. But it's like, what's the motivation of somebody getting a cool car sometimes? Well, it makes them feel cool, And a lot of the times what I try to do is I'm thinking like, what really makes me feel cool? Like, what's the thing that if I do this, I'm walking around with some pep in my step, and it just gives me that feeling of like I'm in a music video and it's my world and everybody else is just living in it. Well, it's not. I mean, I definitely upgraded the Camry. Got a swap that out to a Mustang, and that's going into the shop. I'm gonna put a Whipple into it, so we'll see what happens there. I'm not gonna spill it, of course, but I got kind of upsold it. And this dude Ryan, if he's watching this, he knows that he's making me think about it. But it's like, it's cool, but walking around training really hard really kind of gets me going. Like the coolness feeling that I get driving that doesn't beat the coolness validation feeling that I get from finishing that hour of cardio with the music bumping. So it's kind of like, what really gets you going? So if I know that's going to make me feel cooler, well, I want to put way more effort into that, right? But, that's kind of I'm just kind of saying that. I'm sure I'll end up getting something. We'll see what happens. The Mustang will be it for a while. Don't have to go too crazy. Matthew Schonberg, Dealing with some injuries right now. Going to the doctor soon, but it's really demotivating me. Trying to get back into it after taking some time off. Advice on when to push through versus rest, and how to push through when you need to get back to it. So this is often contested when I say this, because if you have if you had a spinal surgery, and or you had a, maybe you had a, I don't know what the word is, but they had to put like a stent in your heart or something. If you had a seriously major life-threatening surgery, you should probably fucking chill. You should probably be bedridden for a while and really recover. But, if you snapped your ankle in a jet ski accident, or you tore your rotator cuff because you were wrestling with somebody, or whatever, just random things like that, especially if it's in the extremities, like beyond mid wrist, beyond mid shin, things like that, that can be worked around, I believe, with little to no impact on your ability to exert yourself. I'm not asking for this. I am not asking for this to happen. But if today, for whatever reason, maybe I can't even imagine, and I don't want to think of the situation. But let's say right leg, boom, in half at the shin, just like that dude from that one NBA game, if you know what I'm talking about. So I got to go to the hospital. They're going to bolt me back together, set everything, put me in a cast. Well, by the time I'm able, or at least by the time I'm sent back home from the hospital, so let's say that, they went in, surgical reattachment, whatever, everything, and now I'm back home, I'm in a boot, my leg's screwed. Well, guess what, dude? I can still do cardio on that hand pedaling machine. I can still do an arm day. I think I can still do a chest day and a back day. I'm going to chill. I'm not going to mess with anything down here. But I want to keep training, and I would want to keep my energy levels up so that my metabolism keeps moving. I'm eating more food. I've got energy in my system to actually recover. Like, you're already dealing with a weakness. You're already being put a step or two behind, because now you got to back off on leg training and let this thing recover. So in my head, right, why would you want to take even more steps back and slow yourself down and deacclimate yourself to physical activity, And what I'm saying is, this is an extremity. This is not like, I just had a slipped disc that they had to fuse, or I don't know, something like that. That would be a bit more serious. If you really cannot do any physical exertion without pain, well, then obviously you can't. You have to back off. But I've seen guys come into the gym. They're pushing around that three-wheeled scooter with their one leg in a boot, and the guy's still doing a workout. So if you're not actively hurting that injury and it's still recovering properly, I say keep training around it. Don't hurt it, never hurt it, but train around it as best as you can, right? If I had the same situation happen up here on my forearm, I'd be doing a lot of legs. I'd be doing a shit ton of leg extensions and hamstring curls. I wouldn't do anything that would require bracing. Because let's say I was in a sling, let's say I really bones snapped, whatever, I don't know. Well, then the internal pressure of like a leg press would probably throw you off. But I could sit and curl a 20-pound dumbbell like nothing. Like when a physician or whatever is going to say, like, okay, no physical activity for 8 weeks. Are you joking? I only had a brief version of this back in college. I had a portion of my, I think it was my humerus. So you got your thigh bone and you got your shin bone. So I had a piece of bone in here, like inside the meniscus and whatever, that's supposed to be super smooth and round and, whatever. And that piece of bone had snapped out of place, and it was like a piece of gravel. The guy said it was like having a rock in your shoe. So they had to do an orthoscopy, cut me open from both sides of the knee, really minimally invasive. Like, I was walking that same day. I wasn't bending my leg, but the guy was like, dude, you can walk, just chill. So after that, I get home, I get a picture of myself. I'm like playing Counter-Strike or something with my leg up because it was freshly worked on. I don't think it was that many days before. I was just doing whatever else the hell I could, So it's do what you know you should do. But if you know you can kind of get it, You've already answered your own question, right? But for me, and I guess maybe this isn't a recommendation because it's a case-by-case basis, but if I had an extremity-based injury, I'm going to work around it as hard as I fucking can because I don't want to lose any more ground. So, that's my thoughts there. Adamol, whatever. Can you still get big even without pre-workout? Sorry, I just had a brain fart here. Can you still get big even without pre-workout and related other items taken before the gym if money for these items are expensive for you? Most certainly. Most fucking certainly. I think pre-workout is effective, and you will have better pumps, and you will have better just lifts in general. Now, the pump side, I think, is probably the most important for me. Like, the way that pre-workouts are essentially dosed isn't the right word, but basically dosed is for energy, like stimulants, caffeine, pump ingredients, nootropics, and then additional kind of blood flow related stuff like VO, I don't know, just whatever. I'd say the most important two of those are going to be that stimulation and those pump ingredients. So you can buy it in bulk if you're really trying to go bare bones. Just get like caffeine capsules. So the equivalent caffeine of a pre-workout for 4 cents per capsule, 200 milligrams right there. And if you want to just call it there, I mean, you're probably gonna have a good workout. I've had good lifts, caffeine only. I would prefer to get some extra arginine and citrulline, but if not, then I think caffeine would still be number one. So if you want to buy raw, like just a tub of arginine and citrulline, and then just drink that, well, shit, you gotta do what you gotta do. I did that for a while. You're definitely missing out because a regular pre-workout is properly flavored and scientifically like masked, because pre-workout, like caffeine, like powder form, it tastes like poison. Like it's so bitter, it's nuts. Same thing with the citrulline and the arginine. But if you really want to get down to bare bones components, just get those in a raw form and then make your own. But you're grungy for doing that. That's for sure. Ubize Majmuncino 93919. Do you ever get depressed or have depressive periods? Not so much lately. Things are going quite well, and I want to keep it that way. But, everybody's got some shit, right? I think if you want a tip, though, obviously I guess I just answered the question. Yeah. But if you want a tip on that, just got to get moving, man. Just in general, no matter what the situation, if I'm hearing somebody talk to me about some shit they're, that's kind of fucking with them, or screwing with them, sorry, and that's kind of dropping those today. I've basically usually got one go-to kind of piece of advice. And I try to use this for me as well. And it's that idle hands are the devil's playthings. All right, so if you catch yourself just sitting and stewing and thinking and overthinking and just whatever, every version of that, and you're just, you're letting stuff bubble up and you're torturing yourself in your own mind, So if some shit hits the fan, which on occasion it certainly will, just make sure you keep moving. If you've got a regular routine, I mean, if you answer this, you're probably working out. Don't stop. Don't let yourself slow down. I've seen it happen. Locked in, locked out for weeks, for months even. And you can do some pretty serious damage to your progress in a few months. Not that it can never be undone, but you can set yourself back. So just try to get to a point of at least autonomy with your routine of your cardio and your food and your regular training. Or sure, maybe you're on the day, your heart might not be in it because you're thinking about whatever the hell else is going on. I've been there before, right? In some of these videos, you didn't even know I was totally tweaking. This is like a long time ago. But if you stop moving, I mean, like what separates you from being alive versus being dead? All right, so just keep doing some shit. And then before you know it, odds are things end up kind of resolving themselves. And you look back at the situation and think, man, I was tweaking. Man, I was freaking out about that. All right. Whoa. And rather than look back and think, wow, I was kind of in a phase. At least I still worked out really well, and I'm still on track with my goals. Hell yeah. Instead of that, having to think, oh, well, now you're digging yourself deeper, you know? So if I've got one tip, if you're in a certain kind of era like that, or not era, but you know what I'm saying, then just keep moving. Keep moving. And before you know it, it'll pass, I feel. You know, person to person, of course. Jack RC 8868. What's the end goal? What's the end goal? There is no end goal. It's so the same thing with training, right? Any individual day of training is as inconsequential as it is of the utmost importance, right? Because they add up. But, you know, if you have a day that gets thrown off, you know, don't sweat it. So the fact that it's such a long game anyway, I mean, I don't have one specific thing, you know, and I really don't think I'm just saying that. Like, I don't think there's a real answer in my head that I'm like concealing. If it is, it's really subconscious. My end goal is kind of my current goal. Just keep making progress. Keep seeing what happens, you know? You can only predict things so far. So it's kind of like I just want to stay in the game and see how far I can go. That's kind of how I put it. And also have a lot of fun along the way. Like I'm not coming in here for cardio just, you know, maybe I look at one of my neighbor units, he's coming in at the same time for his day of work. You know, I'm not like mean. Like, no, this is fun. So it's I want to kill it and enjoy it at the same time. That's my end goal. Ted K _1. You ever play Overwatch and Counter-Strike? And what's your favorite hero and skin, if so? Overwatch, no. Counter-Strike, yes. I like Counter-Strike. Dust and Mirage, that's where it's at. I'm silver 4 in both. Sometimes I lock in. Other times, you know, totally suck. I play it every so often. But yeah, Counter-Strike is sweet. Canadian Tiger 23. Best pre-workout snack and when to eat it. Well, the best pre-workout snack is probably some type of semi-complex carb 2 hours before your workout. So let's assume I wanted to make sure I was pretty well fed. Well, I guess if I wanted to be really well fed, I'd have the workout at night and eat all my food throughout the day. But let's assume, you know, just a semi-morning lift like I'm doing now. My favorite go-to, if I want to have like a good big carb pre-workout meal, is going to be about 50 grams of carbs 100 grams of carbs worth of cream of rice. There's a raw cream of rice flavor that I'm specifically excited about. It's not out yet, but we'll see. As soon as it is, I'll be talking about it. But a cream of rice, a cream of wheat, an oatmeal, whatever, either one of those. About 30, maybe 25 grams of carbs worth of frozen blueberries or mixed berries. And then like 40 grams of carbs of brown sugar. Something like a 200 gram carb explosion. So if I slam that, obviously it's going to make me tired having that many carbs at once. So maybe I'll kind of take a little pre-workout, not nap, but just like lay down and kind of digest. Eyes open. Ooh, yeah, now we're charged. Then come in and kill it. But that's probably my favorite. And if you're trying to get carbs down, like you're trying to gain weight, which I will be in not a couple, but you know, later on towards the end of the summertime, dude, anything breakfast cereal like, and I don't mean cold, I mean hot cereal, cream of rice, cream of wheat, oatmeal, those are so easy to eat. I could eat 300 grams of carbs worth of instant oats. Strawberry, you know, peach, blueberry's the best, but either one, I could probably eat that in about 2 minutes. That'd be 1,200 calories of carbs off the rip. So once food gets hard to put down, that is an easy carb source because it's not dry. If you're sitting eating dry rice, it kind of gets to be a chore to eat. But the cream of rice or anything like that, maybe you add syrup on top, and it goes down like nothing. Big Lasagna 119. What's your favorite arc in Berserk? Probably the one where it ends with Guts overhearing Griffith's conversation. Remember that? He's got the cloak on, he's got the arrow in his arm, you know, he just escaped his thing, not to spoil it. That one's probably my favorite. It's like the most intriguing, it's the most kind of interesting. I think that's the second movie of the trilogy of movies. Now I know you should read it. Reading it's the best, but yeah, that one's pretty good. Jack somebody 5898. What do you really think is more important, discipline or motivation? I personally think both have their place. Also, have you seen Avatar: The Last Airbender? That I've got a few comments about that, and no, I have not. Give me one moment to swap the battery. There we go. Perfect. Back to 100%. I have not seen it. I did see that it got leaked. That kind of sucked. Well, not for us, but for the people actually, producing that. But it's a mix. It's a mix. If you need one only, it's got to be discipline. Because discipline is the cake. Motivation is icing on the cake, but discipline is the body. Discipline is the core. Where without it, I mean, what the hell do you have, right? You can be the most motivated in the world. Oh, I'm gonna, it's just that feeling of like artificial excitement. Now, it might not be artificial, it might feel pretty damn real, but it comes and goes, right? The disciplined guy will get after it even when he doesn't feel like it. The motivated guy will get after it when he's motivated, and if he doesn't feel like it, well, then he could be motivated to feel like it. So they kind of both play into each other. Like the discipline mindset is nothing external is going to stop me, and the motivation is finding something external to get you excited, maybe internal or whatever. That's just the first thing that came to mind. But yeah, if you want, discipline's going to be discipline's the horse in front of the cart, right? The other way around probably isn't going to work, at least not in the long run. But yeah, I'd say if you really had to value them on a scale, discipline's a little more valuable. Luke the Duke, 1232, favorite cutting sweet treat. So is that my favorite thing to eat when I'm dieting, or my favorite thing to eat when I'm dieting that's like kind of diet friendly? Because those are two very different things. You ever hear of a Yasso bar or Yasso ice cream? That's pretty good. I mean, one little like ice cream bar, 18 grams of carbs, 2 grams of fats, or 3 grams of fats, but that's not much. That's pretty good. So as a diet-friendly treat, I'd say try those. Now, as an undiet-friendly treat, let me think. Let me think for a minute. I certainly love like some sour, not super sour, but like just any gummy related kind of thing, like Welch's fruit snacks. Love them. But I don't know. I guess I can't think of anything beyond that. There's this one kind of ice cream I like. It's Blue Bunny, like oatmeal or not oatmeal. What am I saying? Like Oreo cookie kind of flavored. I mean, I could probably kill the whole thing in one sitting if I really wanted to, and that's pretty good. And even though it's ice cream, when it's frozen, it's not frozen solid. Like it's super fluffy, so you can just scoop out as much as you want. Now you got me thinking about that. What the hell? Ride Blades 007, or 007, I guess. Now that you've canceled the bulk and you're going to stay on the leaner side, are you able to go back to the diving board of the pool and do some flips? I think you already know the answer to that. It's not scheduled, but that's going to happen. I got to make sure I loosen up and actually like stretch out, because I mean, I can still touch my toes, but I want to get my hamstrings a little looser so I don't hurt myself or anything. But yeah, that's on the agenda. That is on the agenda. Umakako. What should I do if my wrists hurt, but I only want to take one rest day? Should I just train legs until my wrists recover? I don't know. What part of your wrists? I just had some wrist pain in this hand, like right back here, this little, like, see how there's like a little bunch up of like tendons? I wonder if it was from shooting the guns, because I'm not used to that, like, impact. Not that we were shooting anything crazy, but like, I wonder if that did it. But my wrist was kind of sore for a couple days, and now it's back to normal. I don't know. Just do stuff that doesn't hurt it. Maybe do some lighter arm days and stuff. So if your wrists are really bothering you, maybe don't do a super heavy bench. Maybe don't do like crazy heavy push downs or anything. Just do more light squeezing stuff, man. You're not totally screwed. Just adapt. Now, if your wrists still really hurt, even doing a light tricep rope extensions or really light curls, then I'd say maybe look into some like wrist supports. But I guess the better question here is how long has this been happening and how long has it been persisting? Because that would change my answer to this. Luis Nudel 2663, why do you think women get way more hate for having muscles? As a female watching your videos and training daily. Part of the 4%. Hell yeah. Just an intimidation thing. I don't know. If I was a dude that didn't work out and maybe I was like really skinny, then maybe people already pick on me for being kind of skinny. Whether they mean it or not, maybe that's the situation. I could see how that character could have a little bit of like this weird roundabout jealousy towards like a more developed girl. I guess I'd want to know your experience, but I feel like any guys who are big, never never think like that. So sometimes it's just somebody hating to hate because you got something that they don't. That's usually that. Like, I'm no psychologist, but that's pretty typical psychology. You have something that I don't, or you're good at something that I'm not good of, and it's making me insecure. So now I'm going to lash out. That's pretty typical. So if you think it boils down to something like that, sometimes if I see somebody being a total punk, you can try to forget about it. Sometimes I'll think this. I'm like, it's his first time being alive too. Whatever. And just I don't know, get over it. But yeah, hopefully you're not getting too much hate for that because you're on the right freaking path. So don't let that slow you down. I guess that's my ender tip there. Big Toner, Skittles or Starburst? Now that's actually a really good question. I don't know if I could say specifically because I love Skittles and I love Starbursts, right? Now you might be thinking, well, of course I'm going to pick Skittles because Starbursts all come individually wrapped and you got to sit and take the wrap. They got Starburst minis now. It's a big ass bag of them and they come unwrapped. You can eat them at your leisure. Those are pretty good. If I'm going to sit and like if I'm watching a movie, I'm going to grab a big ass thing of candy or something as a treat. I might lean more Starbursts. But that might just be because I've skittled myself out. So I think it could be a mix of those two, but probably the Starburst. Omer Belir 5662, what is your opinion on the second part of the new Baki season? And who is your favorite character that isn't Jack Hammer? Very good. It's sweet. Baki is a very interesting show to some. So Baki's an anime, just a cartoon. And if anybody is into, like if you know somebody who's in anime and they're trying to justify it, usually they're going to say, well, it's actually a really good story. It's just, this is how it's depicted, Like, would you be a little bit offended if someone said Game of Thrones is stupid because it's a TV show? Not if you like Game of Thrones, no. So it's just the mechanism of getting the story told to you. But the story isn't the most important part of Baki. It's just a bunch of like martial arts kind of fighter dudes, like straight out of like it may as well be like a cartoon version of like Rocky 4, but like way crazier and wilder, and just like super basic, just like hyper. It's like a comic book. It's like watching an old comic book of just like crazy fucking. It's just fun. Watching it is just fun. When I see a Baki edit, like badass music, and then just fucking everybody's jacked, just gets me excited. But yeah, the second part's pretty cool. I've actually read it. So the way that it works is this dude comes up with a story. He writes it. He gets it published as a comic over in Japan, and eventually Netflix is going to say, "Oh, this is really good. We're going to buy the rights to this and turn it into a TV show." Right? So the story's already been told, and I've been reading. It's like a new chapter every couple of weeks. So there's a lot more beyond this season. So if you're not Baki'd out yet, I'd say you should read it. And reading it is honestly a little bit cooler. The animation does not do the original art justice. And that's the last one. We've been sitting here for a while. This is a this is a freaking long one. But yeah, those were good. Those are some good questions. I like when you guys change it up a lot. Like obviously I like the question where it's like what's a badass way to kill my biceps, but sometimes you got to hit me with a Genghis Khan question, right? Some totally unexpected sort of stuff. But yeah, cardio done. I'm really hungry, so I'm gonna get home and eat something. So nothing else to freaking say, but I will see you tomorrow for what I believe to be a pretty crazy leg day. But if not, maybe it'll be shoulders and forearms or something. I'll see how my legs feel. But either way, good questions. Thank you for asking. And if you want to actually get one answered, then I guess you'd have to turn on the ringer on the YouTube channel so that you get notified when I make the post. Because all these were like within the first 45 minutes of when I made that. So if you're like on it next time one of those gets posted, then I'll probably answer it. Unless it's like really inappropriate or like crazy stupid. But I don't know, sometimes it's stupid, but it's still funny, so I'll still answer it. So I guess we'll just see what happens. But I'll see you tomorrow.